Good morning. Good morning. We're just doing some extras here. So this was, we'll call it day 22. But fear of abandonment. Oh my God. And I know so much about this intimately. And I know my abandonment issues go back to the car accident with my parents when I was 6 months old. So it's a very real thing. And I've shared this many times, but if you hadn't heard the story before, I used to, when my abandonment issues would kick in, I would, like, if my husband and I were in an altercation and he would be like, like that, my abandonment issues would kick in. And I watched my mother pursue my father because, like, what I understand now is her kid was just so activated, like, don't abandon me, don't abandon me, don't abandon me. Well, guess what? I picked that up. So years ago, I was tapping at the time for sure, but I had a therapist that said, oh, Marty, your kid's activated. That changed my life. Changed my life. That's why I talk about that in the Forbidden Emotions book, because it was, that just shifted something in me. I didn't change a thing right out of the gate as far as my behavior, but what I became aware of was my kid being activated. So I couldn't stop myself from doing the pursuit thing, like, oh my God, don't abandon me, don't abandon me, don't abandon me. But what was happening, I would say it took about 6 months of just paying attention and tapping, where all of a sudden I was like, I was uncomfortable, but I was like, I can walk away. I even had that happen this morning. I had a conversation with someone and I hung up and I'm like, wow, this is hard. This is hard not to pursue this. But that's the difference. That's the difference now is I still sometimes, like a moth to the flame, go into it. So I think it's good to be conscientious of not seeking perfection with this, to know that it's a work in progress and realistically probably will be the rest of your life, but you can get better and better and better at it. And sometimes you might, one step forward, 3 steps back, but that's okay. That's part of the healing journey. But when this is the thing that I have found the most profound, that has helped me personally the most, is that who's running my show? Who's running my show? And I talk about that in the book. It's like, who's running my show? Is it the bully in my brain? Is it the wounded child? It's one of those two if I'm activated. And this is the way I like to say it. If I have that strong emotional charge that's like, that's the kid. That's the kid, the terror, the fear, the very high activation of emotion. If there's this punitive, critical, that's the bully in the brain. To me, it is life-changing to realize who's running my show in the moment. Like this morning when I could pause and go, wow, this is hard. I was even looking in the mirror and I was like, this is hard. Like, it's okay, kid. It's okay, sweetie. It's hard, and I didn't act on it. And that pause is huge, but it takes time to get that pause. So I would say just be gentle and kind with yourself. And that alone is like, who's running my show right now? Who's in charge? So what happened is this would happen with my husband and I'd be like, oh my God, my kid's activated. I couldn't stop the behavior, but I couldn't do it unconsciously. It's the exact same thing that happened for me when I was overcoming my eating disorder. Literally how that progression went is, well, at least I'm binging on healthy food. So that was a win. That was a win. And we have to me, the balance is awareness and then making it a win. Just awareness itself is a huge win. It's like, and then you can be kind to the part of yourself. Of course I'm activated. Of course my kid runs my show. I mean, I can still picture my mother pursuing my father around the house. So of course I picked that up. And I want to be kind to the part of me. And that's a practice. Because what I find happens is the bully and the child go to battle. The bully beats up on the child and the child's like, oh God, what's wrong with me? I'm like, oh, I do this. And it's like my video that I did day before yesterday. Why do I stay? That's the kid. The kid is the one that's like, they'll sell their soul. They will sell their soul to survive. And that's the part of us we need to learn to love and nurture. So let's tap. Hey, Maria. Hey, Ida. Even though I have this kid that's still terrified of abandonment, I choose to acknowledge this truth right now. Even though I have a child in me who's terrified of being abandoned, she went through this so long ago. I choose to honor my truth right now. Even though I learned to abandon myself, and I don't want to judge myself for that, but I do. What if I could see this differently now? I have this child in me that is terrified of abandonment, that will sell their very soul to survive. This child in me still has the wounds of abandonment. And what if every time I start to see this, to recognize this, even if I can't change a thing yet, what if that's a win? Who's running my show right now? Who's in charge? Who's trying to make these decisions right now? In the midst of absolute fear of abandonment. And what if by recognizing this part of me, I can start to soothe this part of me? Reparent this part of me. Because the subconscious doesn't know the difference. So what if awareness really is the first step? What if I can set the intention right now? Just to be aware that I have a wounded, abandoned child inside of me that gets activated. And what if I can soothe this part of me over time? Learn acceptance and maybe even self-love towards this part of me I was taught to reject. And what if the more I do this, the more this part of me heals? And what if the day comes when I catch myself and I don't act from the place of the wound? And that is a magical moment. And it's letting me know that I'm changing my physiology, changing from the inside out, and changing what's possible for me. So take a breath. Hope you found that helpful. And if you did, go back and tap on it as many times as you need to. I have so many stories of people that I've worked with or people that I've known that have really shamed themselves, myself included, for behaviors that we've all had from acting out of the wounded place. And I do find the elixir for that is the self-soothing, realizing my kid's activated, my inner child, my wounded inner child is activated right now. That's who's behaving this way. And what if instead of being like, oh my God, and so rejecting that we learn to be, we can start to come to a place of acceptance of it. So thanks, ladies, for being here, and we'll see you. I'm going to do another one a little later to finish up the requests. So I'll be on a little later today. Bye for now.